And good morning, I'm Natalie Tejeda here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. We are getting word that 21-year-old Dylann Roof, who was wanted in the mass shooting in a South Carolina church, has been picked up in Shelby, North Carolina. Now, police had been looking for him in the Richmond County area, but we're getting word that just a few moments ago, again, he was arrested in the Shelby, North Carolina area. If you're just us and just getting some information about this mass shooting. This shooting happened last night in the Charleston, South Carolina area. And again, this was a shooting that left 9 people dead, including a state senator. And this was believed to have entered and shot 9 people who were attending a Bible study at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. And that one of those people that is presumed dead is believed to be a state senator who was also a pastor there at the church. And we are just getting word that 21-year-old Dylann Roof was in fact picked up in the Shelby, North Carolina area. This is after a massive manhunt that spanned several states. He is again believed to now be in state custody. He was last seen in a black Hyundai Elantra after this massive manhunt, and yes, we are believed he is now in police custody. We are awaiting a press conference from the White House that's supposed to begin at about 11:45. So that should be happening in just about 5 to 7 minutes. We will also go ahead and start our noon newscast. Join that at the noon hour as well. But we're getting more information. Police were believing that this may have been a hate-motivated crime, since Dylann is believed to have been a white man and attacking 9 people of African American descent. So we're getting more information about this shooting. Obviously, still very much an investigation underway into the motivations behind the shooting. Not sure what happened, but again, if you're just now joining us, the manhunt is over, as police believe they do now have 21-year-old Dylann Roof in custody. Now, again, they picked him up in the Shelby, North Carolina area. The shooting again happened in the South Carolina area, the Charleston, South Carolina area. And what we know more about Dylann.
Our crew is kind of assembling in place there in Charleston, as we are expected authorities in Charleston to give us an update here any moment on the arrest that we've been talking about here over the past few minutes. So you can see the podium is kind of getting set up, all this happening very rapidly here. But we understand that authorities will emerge here any moment to give us the word officially that the suspect in this case has been arrested. So we're going to keep an eye on this. We'll take you back and forth on the screen there as well. And as soon as they appear, whether it be the president, or this press conference, we'll be able to bring that to folks' lives. So that's also what you're seeing here this afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we are still learning again more and more about Dylann Roof. Again, only 21 years old, had been previously arrested back in March for a felony drug case as well as a misdemeanor trespass. Lexington County, and he's believed to have stormed in last night to this historically black Episcopal church and gunned down 9 people, including again a state senator who was also one of the pastors there at the church. And so this obviously started manhunt, and so we're still waiting right now to find out more information to get in fact confirmation that Dylann Roof is in fact in custody. And so we're waiting. You can see right there that the podium is blank, and so we're waiting to get more information for the official press conference to go ahead and confirm that this manhunt is now over.
And Natalie, certainly we are on the way there as well. We have Fox 5's Claire Sims. Let's listen in now to the news conference is starting.
Yes, sir. Well, good afternoon. We're certainly thankful for you and all that you've done for us today. It's been a long evening and a long day so far, and I'm certainly proud of all the men and women for the different law enforcement agencies, as well as the community that have been partnering with us since last night when this horrific, tragic event happened in the city of Charleston, one that we will never forget, and one that we will continue for the families of the victims. We will continue to pray for our entire community. With that, I am very, very pleased to announce that we have made an arrest in this case. We've arrested Dylann Roof, R-O-O-F, from Lexington, South Carolina. approximately 30 minutes ago, he was arrested in Shelby, North Carolina during a traffic stop. At this time, we have not only FBI agents there, but we also have SLED and City of Charleston detectives preparing to fly to Shelby, North Carolina to begin the interview process as well as the evidence recovery. This case could not have been cleared as quickly as it has been if it had not been for the cooperation, the unparalleled cooperation of all the different agencies that were involved in this investigation. I cannot say how thankful I am and how appreciative I am of all the people who came together during a very tragic situation, a horrific situation, and one that has touched the heart and soul of every person who lives in this community. And they have come together, and some of them have worked tirelessly in various states. The cooperation that we've received, I publicly thank all of my colleagues for the resources they brought, and also the men and women of the Charleston Police Department as well as the Charleston County Sheriff's Department who played vital roles in this particular investigation. There's a lot to do in this case. We've got a lot more investigation to do to find out why this happened. We've got a lot to do in terms of preparing this case for prosecution, but I can tell you that the Solicitor's Office as well as the United States Attorney's Office has been in constant contact with us all day throughout the night, and they are prepared now to partner with us moving forward in the prosecution stage. So again, I want to thank you for your vigilance being here. I know we've had you here several times and you've helped us get information out, and again, it's a partnership and working with you, working with law enforcement, working with the community. And I want to thank these gentlemen on my right for their cooperation and their assistance during this investigation, right from the very beginning. I know that the elder came out and said that we're together, we're galvanized, we're working together, and that's what this has been throughout the night. And I am so pleased that we were able to resolve this case quickly, not only for the families, but for our community, for our state, and so that nobody else is harmed by this individual who obviously committed a tragic, heinous crime last night in the city of Charleston. Mayor.
First of all, I want to publicly commend Chief Mullen and the men and women of our police department. We've a better led police department in our country. As Chief Mullen said, we've had extraordinary cooperation from other law enforcement professionals, and when you have a chance to work on a difficult matter and see the skills and the commitment of people who have dedicated their lives to law enforcement, it is so inspirational. And because of all of that work, this very important news today is announced that that awful person, that terrible human being who would go into a place of worship and people were praying and kill them, is now in custody, where he will always remain. It's important for everyone wounded by this act, which are the church family members, the community members, and the people of America. For in this great country, we hold sacred the places where people come and practice their faiths in safety and in peace. So the arrest of this awful man is an important part for all of us in this community and in our country to begin the necessary process of our healing together. Governor Haley is here and she'll speak in a minute, and I want to thank the governor for coming down to Charleston and the support we've had from State Law Enforcement Division, from the other, as I mentioned, other law enforcement agencies and the FBI and the ATF, the county, has been extraordinary. Thank you, Governor Haley, for your presence and interest and support. I also want to announce that I received a personal call from Vice President Biden. He knew Senator and Reverend Pinckney and was familiar with the Emmanuel AME Church and Morris Brand, where we'll be in just a few minutes. And he himself, we all know, has had a tragically sad time, and he expressed heartfelt grief and offers of support. Then I received a call from President Obama personally that conveyed his sympathy and for the citizens of America to let us know that they were with us, and his offer to make any federal resources available. I told the President that the FBI, the ATF, and the federal resources and the Justice Department have been extraordinary. A part of this healing process, we all need to help. So we have created the Mother Emmanuel Hope Fund. Started with a $5,000 contribution from the city of Charleston. And the Mother Emmanuel Hope Fund will be a vehicle for citizens in our community and around the country that want to do something to help, to contribute to that fund. Obviously, the wounds of the church and all those who were killed and all the expenses of funerals and all the loss and families and so much more, what we have this opportunity to help them. And when we help them, we also help their hearts, because we all know when we're grieving, that hug or that sign of love or support is a very important part of renourishing our soul and the whole souls who are injured. So people can drop checks off at Wells Fargo. Also, you can mail checks to Box 304, Charleston 29402. We'll get this out. So we have a way that we all can help right away, right? But not 24 hours even after this dastardly event, that the citizens in our community and our country can help and positively respond. And then tomorrow evening, and we'll announce the time, there will be a community prayer vigil at the College of Charleston Arena, which is not but a block and a half from Mother Emmanuel. So we'll have a chance to come together in prayer and to mourn the losses and to come together as a community. The time of that event tomorrow evening will be announced soon, and we'll be getting that out into the media. And I thank everyone who's here, and as Chief Mullen said, the media, because we are able to arrest this awful person in Shelby, North Carolina, because we got the word out. And a good sign, wonderful sign. You know, we don't let bad people like this get away with these dastardly deeds. Thank you. Governor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to certainly thank them even more. Continues to make Charleston proud, and I continue leadership. I want to personally thank Bishop Norris with the AME Church family. I spoke with him this morning, and even though he is in recovery, he very much is in prayer and in leadership in the fact that he has asked that we all come together for prayer vigil today at noon, and so you will see all of us go to do that. But you know, we woke up today and the heart and soul of South Carolina was broken. And so we have some grieving too. And we've got some pain we have to go through. Parents are having to explain to their kids how they can go to church and feel safe. And that's not something to deal with. Having said that, we are a strong and faithful state. We love our state, we love our country, and most importantly, we love each other. And I will tell you, there's a lot of prayer in this state. And so you are going to see all of us try and lift these 9 families up in prayer, because they need us. These 9 families need us. The Emmanuel AME Church needs us. The AME church family needs us, and the people of South Carolina need us to come together and be strong for what has happened. I want you to know the outpouring of emotion from across this country has had to put their feet in the shoes of one of those 9 families today. And they all know what that felt like. And so with that, where do we go from here? We allow ourselves to grieve. We allow ourselves to pray. We allow ourselves to question why this happens. And then we allow ourselves to heal. And so the healing process will start. We are so thankful to Chief Mullen and his team, law enforcement, with SLED, with FBI, with everybody that came together that refused to allow this to happen. I have never seen, when we were going through the command center, such passion and personal willingness to want to make sure they brought this person home. And so I want to personally thank the law enforcement community, because you have now allowed us to start healing. And we can now tell our children that that person is in custody. And we can now not only lift up our law enforcement community who hasn't slept since this happened, but thank them and give them the credit they deserve, and the courage that they deserve. But I want to remind everybody, South Carolina has stepped up today in a way that continues to make me proud. We are seeing love, we're seeing prayers, we're seeing support, we're seeing humility. And for that, I want to tell you that I'm thankful. We will continue to be on standby for all of the people, all of the leaders that you see here behind us are willing to do anything and everything for the families in need and for the church in need. But for that, I will tell you, it is a very, very sad day in South Carolina. But it is a day to get through, it is a day that we will remember, and it is a day that will allow us to get stronger. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a few questions starting from the right.
You said the suspect was apprehended after a traffic stop. Was the traffic?
He was stopped because a citizen alerted. He was cooperative.
Were any weapons found in the vehicle?
Excuse me?
Were any weapons found?
We're not going to talk about that right now. Thank you. We're not going to talk about that right now either.
Can you tell us we traveled from Charlotte on his way here and actually stopped an ATM?
No, ma'am. We're not going to talk about any aspects of the investigation that are still ongoing. There's still a lot of things happening, and we've got to make sure that we follow all of those processes. So we just can't talk about those details right now.
What was his demeanor?
He was cooperative with the officer who stopped him.
Do you believe that he acted illegally?
I do. Yes. We don't have any reason to believe there was anybody else involved.
What was his suspicious activity?
The citizen just saw a vehicle that they felt like was suspicious, and they did exactly what we asked citizens to do. They called the police. We went out and checked it out, and as a result of that, we were able to make this apprehension. Yes, ma'am.
The family's obviously want very much to know why, and I know it's early in the investigation, but do you have any indication how someone goes from 2 minor arrests to what is allegedly one of the worst mass killings in state history?
Right. Well, that'll be part of what we do when our investigators get there and begin their interviews with him. We'll try to figure that out, but right now we do not have that. Yes, sir. Right now he's in Shelby, North Carolina. There will be a process that we have to go through to get him back here, so we'll be working that very diligently with not only SLED but the FBI along with our detectives. He was in the vehicle when he was approached by law enforcement.
Which agency arrested him?
Shelby, North Carolina Police Department.
Any reason to believe he had ties to Shelby, North Carolina?
Not that I'm aware of. There was a number of hours in between what happens here
How
and
you
where.
waited 2 weeks for that long?
I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, we were obviously.
It's interstate highway, going up. It's not through
Has he
city.
made
Can
a
you give us
statement?
any information about how the day unfolded? Well, really the night into the day unfolded. How many leads you got? What kind of things happened over the course of the day that kind of led to this arrest?
Sure, I'll give you a brief overview of that because there was a lot of moving parts. I mean, basically, the initial response was tremendous from all of our partners. We had people from various agencies that were here almost immediately. As I was driving to the scene from my home, I was talking to Chief Keel and the FBI in terms of their willingness to get involved. So by the time we all converged on the scene, we immediately started to partner. There was resources that were brought to bear. We were able to get up the 1-800 quickly. And once we got the surveillance photos out and then we got the 1-800 number up. We started to receive tips, and that was what led us to I don't know the exact time. It was probably we had a number of tips that were coming in, and everybody was following those tips. Every lead that came in, I mean, it was amazing the fact that we had teams that were standing by. They were almost, they were wired to go. And whenever we got a lead in, we sent out teams of SLED agents, of CPD officers, of FBI agents to run those down. We had agents in other parts of the country. We had agents on their way here from other parts of the country to aid us. So it was a tremendous effort, and really the team that we had working with us and the team that we had in the community, it was a tremendous push forward to make this a successful case. And now what we have to do is continue on to make it a successful prosecution. Thank you very much. That's all we're going to do right now. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and pull away from that press conference and just kind of go back over what we have learned at this point. Again, if you're just now joining us, this is a special report from the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. I'm Natalie Tejeda, kind of going over what we have learned, the rest of Dylann Roof, 21 years old, over Shelby, North Carolina. And again, this is in response to the shooting in Charleston, South Carolina, at the historic church. This was a historically black church. It was at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, where 9 people were killed in that shooting. And to give you an idea as to how far away this Dylann Roof was picked up, he was picked away in Shelby, North Carolina. 3 hours, and the chief was saying the way he was caught is he was spotted by somebody in his car, approached by an officer after that person called police, and he was taken into custody without incident. That the person who spotted him did exactly what they were looking for. They called police, and police were able to approach him. He did not give them any trouble and actually went into custody without incident. Here, he's still being questioned at this time. As we've been told, the FBI agents as well as the Charleston police investigators are going ahead and heading over there, and still so much more being done. We're hearing that the president is going to be speaking, so we're going to go ahead and cut away to a live press conference.
Yeah, we are still waiting a press conference from the president. And actually, right now, what we're looking at on our screen is aerials from WBTW. This is the car that they believe that the suspect was riding in North Carolina, where Dylann Roof's car there is pulled over, and authorities are still kind of investigating the area around the vehicle there, where the local arrest was able to arrest him, and they say peacefully right there, Natalie.
And now the Charleston Police Department said they don't want to speak too much about surrounding. Take here from America, we don't have to let people get away with such dastardly deeds. And he used some other very powerful emotional words, saying, an awful human being who will go into a place of worship where people were praying will remain in custody. So very, very emotional. And we even heard from the governor, who's saying she very much choked up and speaking, the heart and soul of South Carolina was broken, and we have to do. So very, very emotional by even the officials, saying, it's going to be hard to talk with parents. Are going to have to talk with their children about how it's okay to go into church, and they are going to be safe being able to go in there to pray and to worship even this Sunday. So very much some healing will have to be done on the South Carolina front. But if you're just now joining us, 21-year-old Dylann Roof was taken into Shelby, North Carolina, at just about 11-ish today, just before noon today, and we just are finishing up at the press conference. About 245 miles, 3 hours and 45 minutes away from Charleston, South Carolina. That's where they had him after a mass shooting last church, where 9 people were killed.
And Natalie, we do have a clip of the officials announcing the arrest right here.
A horrific, tragic event happened in the city of Charleston, one that we will never forget, and one that we will continue to pray for the families of the victims. We will continue to pray for our entire community. With that, I am very, very pleased to announce that we have made an arrest in this case. We've arrested Dylann Roof, R-O-O-F, from Lexington, South Carolina. Approximately 30 minutes ago, he was arrested in Shelby, North Carolina, during a traffic stop. At this time, we have preparing to fly to Shelby, North Carolina to begin the interview.
And now you're looking at live pictures of Shelby, North Carolina, and the vehicle where Dylann Roof was pulled from and arrested. This was the same vehicle that we saw out on the Be on the Lookout posters that were shared on social media on the Fox 5 Facebook page, Fox 5 Atlanta earlier, that really got national attention, national eyes, as the image of this car was shared all over the nation, and we can see that vehicle now on the side of the road, surrounded by police tape. Certainly, this is the focal point, but of course, Natalie, one of the other focal points right now that we can't lose sight of is, the prayers and healing. Governor Nikki Haley just a few moments ago talking about how now that we quickly have a suspect in custody, that the healing can begin, and certainly there's a lot of healing to be done when we have 10 people injured, 9 people that have perished.
There's even a Mother Emanuel Hope Fund that has now been set up, and they're starting by putting $5,000 into it. This money is going to help pay for some of the funeral services for some of the people, the 9 people that died, and help pay for some of the medical expenses as well. And if you want to go ahead and make some donations, you can do so. I believe it's through Wells Fargo Bank. But they're also talking about, to help with that healing process, there's going to be a vigil held tomorrow evening, Friday evening, at the College of Charleston Arena. So they're going to try to help with that healing process, because as the governor was saying, the heart and South Carolina was broken, and people are going to often, and again, as the mayor was saying, he called it a dastardly deed for somebody to do something like this in a place of worship where people were praying. And again, as we're looking at this video of the car, the black Hyundai Elantra that was seen on the surveillance video outside the church, was picked up 245 miles away from Charleston, South Carolina, was spotted by an individual that was, just happened to spot the car and did the right thing, as the police said, just called it in to officers. They were able to go there and pick up Dylann Roof without any incident. He went in peacefully without any troubles or anything like that. And so that's exactly what police were looking for. They did not want to have to, in their words, get into any kind of bad situation, taking him into custody.
And Natalie, we're going to continue, giving you this picture here from WBTW of Carolina, scene where this car is being processed now. Investigators taking a look through this. We expected to hear earlier, about an hour ago, they did announce that President Obama would be speaking from the White House about this particular incident. Certainly, even within that hour, a lot has changed, and we now know that not only has the manhunt ended, but we have the suspect in the vehicle here that you're seeing on your screen right now. So not received word on when the president is going to speak, but we'll continue this live stream for a while and give you these aerials here from North Carolina as long as they're available to us, and we will rejoin you with another stream certainly if the president decides to speak a little bit later. But he may have been planning to speak to the importance of his arrest, and certainly maybe even talking about the manhunt, but a lot has changed in an hour, as we've seen.
And absolutely, and if you are interested in maybe contributing to that Mother Emanuel Hope Fund, as well as if you know some people in the area that might be interested in going to that vigil that's tomorrow evening, we will put both of those details on our Facebook page as well as on fox5atlanta.com.
All right, thank you, Natalie. And you've been watching live breaking news coverage on Fox 5 Live, the arrest of the suspect in the Charleston shooting spree. Live coverage continues, breaking news as it happens. Thank you for watching on Fox 5 Live.
More on this and what is expected now from the president, Leland, after we have heard from the Attorney General 1 hour ago. Bill, expecting the president sometime in the next 90 seconds or so before he leaves for a fundraising trip in California. Very typical for the president to speak at times like this. Typically a short statement, non-political, unlikely that he will take questions. Most likely he will offer the prayers of the nation in this tragedy and also the promise of the help of the federal government in the investigation. His attorney general, speaking earlier, said that they now view this as a hate crime. There was a federal hate crimes investigation. Promised the help of the ATF. Now the president. Thank you, Leland.
Good afternoon, everybody. This morning, I spoke with, and Vice President Biden spoke with Mayor Joe Riley and other leaders at Charleston to express our deep sorrow over the senseless murders that took place last night. Michelle and I know several members of Emmanuel AME Church. We knew their pastor, Reverend Clementa Pickney, who, along with 8 others, gathered in prayer and fellowship and was murdered last night. And to say our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families and their community doesn't say enough to convey the heartache and the sadness and the anger that we feel. Any death of this sort is a tragedy. Any shooting involving multiple victims is a tragedy. There is something particularly heartbreaking about a death happening in a place in which we seek solace and we seek peace. As leaders spoke in custody, and I'll let the best of law enforcement do its work to make sure that justice is served. Until the investigation is complete, I'm necessarily constrained in terms of talking about the details of the case. But I don't need to be constrained about the emotions that tragedies like this raise. I've had to make statements many times. Communities like this have had to endure tragedies like this too many times. We don't have all the facts, but we do know that, once again, innocent people were killed in part because someone who wanted to inflict harm had no trouble getting their hands on a gun. Now is the time for mourning and for healing. But let's be clear. At some point, we as a country will have to reckon with the fact that this type of mass violence does not happen in other advanced countries. It doesn't happen with this kind of frequency. And it is in our power to do something about it. I say that recognizing the politics in this town foreclose a lot of those avenues right now. But it'd be wrong for us not to acknowledge it. And at some point, it's going to be important for the American people to come to grips with it. And for us to be able to shift how we think about Christian faith compelled them to reach out not just to members of their congregation or to members of their own communities, but to all in need. They opened their doors to strangers who might enter a church in search of healing or redemption. Mother Emmanuel Church and its congregation have risen before, from flames, from an earthquake, from other dark times, to give hope to generations of Charlestonians. And with our prayers and our love and the buoyancy of hope, it will rise again now as a place of peace. Thank you.
Fred, what would you do differently on gun
A somber president expressing his deep sorrow there over these, quote, senseless murders, especially personal for him, he says. The president saying he and the First Lady knew the pastor, 41-year-old Clem Pinkney, one of those murdered, and several parishioners who attend that church. Deep sorrow and sadness and anger is how the president initially described his feelings there. Back to Leland at the White House, where, Leland, it was quite clear his personal feelings were expressed right there. Well, very, very much so, Bill. An unusually emotional President Obama saying that if he simply expressed his thoughts and prayers, that would not be saying enough. What was interesting also is so soon after this shooting, less than 24 hours afterwards, you already saw the president talking about the politics of it, not only in terms of the issue of race, in terms of this being a hate crime, the shooting at a black church, but also it clearly struck a nerve when it came to the issue of gun violence, saying that there needs to be a shift in the thinking about gun violence and saying these kinds of acts do not happen with the same kind of frequency as in other civilized countries. That is very clearly a political tone as it relates to the issue of gun control. And remember, after a number of the other mass shootings in Aurora, Colorado, obviously also the one in Newtown, Connecticut, Bill, that you covered so much, the president very quickly went to those cities and used it as a platform to try to change the conversation and the laws in America as it relates to gun control. Leland, thank you. Leland Vittert, my colleague there in the North Lawn at the White House. Dylann Roof, meanwhile, has been arrested. Arrested 245 miles away in Shelby, North Carolina. He's 21 years old. Reports that he had been arrested twice in the past 4 months. Now we await the somber vigils that are no doubt forthcoming in Charleston, South Carolina, and across the country. Please stay tuned to Fox News Channel and this Fox station for continuing coverage of this story and all the day's breaking news. And of course, we are online anytime at foxnews.com. I'm Bill Hemmer in New York.
And we are going to take you on Fox 5 Live back to Charleston, South Carolina, where WCNC is standing by to bring us a prayer vigil from Charleston. This is again courtesy of WCNC, and let's listen in here to this prayer vigil already in progress. And it appears we're having some audio problems here with this stream, so this will conclude our Fox 5 Live special broadcast today. We'll continue to bring you more information if officials start to talk about the case a little bit later. Thank you for joining us on Fox 5 Live.